So there's this thing that happens in our brain when your actions don't match your thoughts. There seems to be this inconsistency where your brain makes you think one thing, but you end up doing the other. Some of the things include, are you smoking, even when you're clearly aware of the health concerns? Or are you working a job that you know is internally depleting you? This is what's known as cognitive dissonance, and you're not alone. So what is cognitive dissonance, and what's it got to do with feeling like you're an imposter in your own life? Well, it's essentially your psyche playing games with you and making you think two thoughts at the same time, or making you feel two different ways at the same time. And this idea of a cognitive dissonance is a pretty recent discovery in the world of psychology. It was discovered by Leon Festinger in 1957. This was back then they were still performing lobotomies and other questionable scientific practices. Now, Festinger wrote a 357-page long book to explain what cognitive dissonance is. And I would go through that book, but they were just on a different frequency back then. So basically, Festinger and Carl Smith ran this experiment where they made the participant play an extremely boring game of twisting pegs for an hour. And they paid these participants either $1 or $20 for lying to the next person in line and telling them that the game was actually pretty fun. Now, those participants that were paid $20 felt no dissonance whatsoever, because I guess, hey, $20 is enough cash to justify the lie. But those paid $1, they noticed something interesting. You see, $1 wasn't enough external justification for the lie. So those participants with only $1 ended up convincing themselves that the game they were playing was quite fun. This would be later described as cognitive dissonance. Simply put, cognitive dissonance is having two different thoughts or beliefs at the same time. Now, Festinger suggested that individuals are always seeking to maintain consistency among their cognitions, between their thoughts, behaviors, values, attitudes, and beliefs. And if two cognitions don't align with each other, well, then the individual takes the easy way out and comes up with a justification for their cognition. Like how the participants that didn't want to lie to the next person in line for $1 convinced themselves that the game that they were playing was actually fun. Personally, I would have never thought it like that, but hey, moving on. So what does this mean for us? Here are some examples of cognitive dissonance in 2026 that I'm sure you all felt. Complaining that you have no time, but spending hours on your phone. Believing that you work better under pressure while knowing that you're just procrastinating. And also giving great advice, which you sure as hell don't follow yourself. Some double standards in dating, like expecting to find a partner that makes $200K a year while knowing yourself that the chances of that happening are quite slim. And also expecting someone to be emotionally available but shutting down yourself when it comes to you. Or even expecting quick replies but taking days to reply yourself are all forms of cognitive dissonance. So why do we do this and keep acting against ourselves while fully knowing that it's going to lead us down the same path of doom? Just be the man of your words, right? And have some integrity. Come on. There is an answer to that, but it is uncomfortable. We are wired for self-protection and not self-improvement. When two conflicting thoughts enter your mind, your brain would process it as if it's a physical pain. And just like any other physical pain, you don't want to understand it, you just want to get rid of it. If you were wired for self-improvement, you would sit there with that uncomfortable thought and figure out a better path forward for yourself, given that in mind. But as you would know, that's something that you have to train into your psyche, and it's not necessarily there by default. This idea of being prudent and planning your life out and living exactly the route that you created for yourself never actually works out. Never. Think about all those stories from other people where they tell you how they expected things to happen, but there is always that shift that changes the route for that person. So instead of changing your behavior, which would be ideal but hard, you instead change your perception of that behavior, which is easy. Instead of quitting smoking, you keep telling yourself that you're just winding down. Instead of putting the phone down, you keep scrolling. I'm not even on my phone now. Instead of leaving a soul-sucking job, you tell yourself that, hey, it's paying the bills. And to be honest, as I'm saying this, they all sound like pretty good reasons. And that just goes to show how hard your brain works at pushing away reasonable thoughts and any uncomfortable thought. Leon Festinger called this dissonance reduction. And all these contradictions don't just come out of nowhere. They always come out of a fear of something. The fear of stepping out of your comfort zone. The fear of being seen. Or maybe even fear of committing crime. The point is that we have a concept of ourselves in our head. And deviating from that concept is hard. So you keep running the same cycle of reinforcing that concept, even though it's not doing us any good. In other terms, and not to be cliche, but you are your own worst enemy. Here's where things get worse. You have these amazing values and beliefs which you would like to strive to for yourself, which are here. But the mental model of yourself that you keep reinforcing is here. So you keep pushing away from those amazing values and beliefs which is not doing you any good. And you do that because otherwise life would be too hard. Now every time you do that, you make a small withdrawal from your integrity account. And you keep making these withdrawals every time you choose not to strive up to those values, and the account starts to empty. Every now and then you make a little effort to live up to those amazing values and beliefs, which makes a little deposit into that integrity account. But overall, the account is running at a deficit. This is where you stop trusting yourself. Say you try set a goal. In your mind, before you even do anything, you've already told yourself that, nah, you wouldn't do it. And because you've already convinced yourself that you're not, guess what? You don't end up doing it. This is how you get stuck into a job that you hate, a relationship that is demeaning, or habits that are costing you your health. And not because you're weak. Hey, if it came to showing anyone how much willpower you had, you'd do anything. But with that integrity account running at a deficit, the gap between where you want to be and where you are becomes huge. Chronic dissonance is like a tap in your mind that's continuously dripping. And it's not enough to fully make you go insane, but it's also never fully quiet. The level that you know yourself to be capable of and where you currently are. And this is a gap that breeds depression and self-sabotage. There's even physical expressions of this. Chronic dissonance causes disruptions in sleep and always making you feel fatigue. You start to carry tension in your shoulders, jaw, and chest. Even showing up for other people in ways that you would never show up for yourself in is also a form of cognitive dissonance. And as discussed before, you stop trusting yourself. And a person that doesn't trust themselves looks for validation through external means, through relationships and through achievements. So how to actually fix it? Festinger suggests that you can work on your cognitive dissonance in 3 main ways. The first is the hardest, which is to change the behavior itself. A smoker trying to quit smoking purely out of a willingness to align themselves with their health concerns. Now this is the hardest way to do it because behaviors can be addictive, painful, or even irreversible to change. The second way is easier, but may or may not work depending on the behavior. This is to change the cognition behind the behavior. Say you're a smoker and you're aware of the health warnings. Now at this stage, instead of dejecting smoking, you can accept it to be a part of who you are, and it falls in place with what you think of yourself. Instead of reaching for a higher level, you just bring the level down. And this way, you may not necessarily becoming a better version of yourself, but you may just be learning to accept the version of yourself that you already are. The third is changing the behavior and the cognition. And this takes the longest to implement. This works by adding a new cognition to the list, which aligns with your values and morals, but also ranks higher with the previous cognition associated with that behavior. Let's go back to the smoking example. Say just the health reasons were not enough to make you quit smoking. But now let's say there is a newborn in the house, and every time you come near it, it starts crying because it hates the smell of smoke. Well, now you have a bigger reason to quit than just your health concerns, because you would like to hold your newborn in your arms without it yelling and screaming. Important thing to note, no dissonance is inherently bad. It's just a signal. And in a way, it lets you see exactly what is causing the gap between who you are and what you are capable of. Your job is to listen to it instead of running away from it. And the rest is easy.